So Raheem Sterling moves to Arsenal. Big one. Surprising, shocking, depending on how you see it. Nobody saw this coming actually because as of yesterday evening, uh, Arsenal's transfer business seemed to be kaput, like complete. David Ornstein confirmed that there was no business coming for Arsenal, and so there was nobody coming. And then all of a sudden, you start hearing the news about Raheem, Arsenal negotiating Edu, doing working at the back of the curtain, doing all he can to make this last a final minute or deadline signing. Kind of it reminded me of Mikel Arteta's first arrival at Arsenal, I think so many years ago, when we Arsenal fans had to wait uh, for that deadline. As in Wenger was very desperate after the Gunners were humiliated 8-2 by Manchester United, and so they had to really rethink. And so there was some kind of panic in the club. So many players came in to join the then very young Arsenal squad to kind of keep the squad alive because the squad, after the 8-2 thumping, there seemed to be no hope. And so it was really kind of a rush with the deadline or against the deadline to sign players. I remember Arsenal fans waiting for Mikel Arteta as the final signing. So this is as shocking and strange as that moment then, or when Arsenal fans had to wait for the last minute arrival of Thomas Partey. Arsenal paid the release clause when the transfer window deadline was almost being closed. Remember Mesut Ozil signing, fans waiting, and all that. So Arsenal is not in unfamiliar territories when Raheem Sterling is signed on the deadline day. The circumstances look more or less the same from a fan point of view because most Arsenal fans saw the club urgently and needing a striker or an attacker, for at least an attacker, if not a striker. But the priority was always to find this center man, traditional number 9, because most of them feel that to challenge the league, Arsenal got to have this goal scorer, trusted and reliable, who could be banging in goals and all that. But they're not easy to come by, and also, Arsenal, Mikel and Edu have stayed quiet on this topic, and so it was almost like Arsenal were not going to sign an attacker or a striker. And got to see how this club has played the last season. They were the most prolific side with a goal difference of almost 60 something goals. Most of the time last season, they were the most prolific side in Europe, scoring lots of goals. And I think Manchester City only caught up with them in the last few weeks of the season. And so perhaps it has convinced Mikel and Edu that the kind of football they are playing, they don't need really a centre man, not really a high priority. So this is where Raheem Sterling comes in. Gabi Martinelli has been off form a little, but there's still sparks of him. I believe he can still rise up. And Leandro Trossard is also some way attitude-wise, or is not getting the minutes. Perhaps Mikel knows what happens during their training and in the training session, so he knows why Martinelli has to start and why Leandro has to come. And this, apparently, if you look at last game against Aston Villa, Leandro wasn't really happy, and kind of in his celebration celebration in court, he was sending a message to Mikel that, hey, you need to trust me to start. So that's that. So the wing where Raheem is coming, his traditional wing side, has got two players over there. But then what happens is that Arsenal releases Reece Nelson on loan to Fulham. Bukayo on his other wing has always not had sufficient backup, and it was expected that Nelson would be the backup. But Nelson is not really strong enough to offer formidable backup to Bukayo. And so Raheem Sterling, when he comes in to the Arsenal side as an attacker, is coming as someone who is able to switch from either the right to the left wing, adding more depth to those areas. And then because Jesus is also injured, then Arsenal were in a crisis. That is what I'm trying to say. Arsenal were in a crisis. The left wing was not offering uh, uh, the needed tempo, pace, brilliance that they had perhaps last season. And the right wing did not have a proper backup. So these were the priority areas for Arsenal as at yesterday evening. And so in bringing Raheem Sterling, they're bringing somebody who can switch on both sides and therefore offers uh, depth and plenty of alternatives, versatility in all those areas. Aside from that, Raheem is proven, played with the big clubs in England, playing at the top level, playing in Europe. He's been on top, and even his departure in Chelsea is not that he's out of form. It's just that the new coach has a new style that he wants to play, and Raheem is not part of his plan. And partly Raheem is leaving because of the bigger problem at Chelsea. Chelsea has a big problem, and Enzo Maresca's attitude towards Raheem Sterling and the big, astronomically big squad that they have is also part of this problem. So Raheem finds himself in a place where he's one of the most experienced, talented players in the squad, but he's not trusted with a new coach. And then where does he find himself? He finds himself at Arsenal. So most fans think that this is a win now kind of situation. This is what they said when Mikel and Edu signed Mikel Merino, that this is a win now kind of situation because of his age. But I think Arsenal, owing to the contract uh, details of Raheem coming to Arsenal, I think, and the kind of player they're bringing in, they they have scored big in bringing him. They're bringing a talented, experienced player who is still on form. And remember, he said that the best of him is yet to come, and I believe him because Raheem is coming to prove a point. He's coming from a place where he was rejected, and so he's coming to tell them that, hey, this is me, I still got it. So that's the kind of attitude that you want in a player that you're signing, that you are bringing, a player that is coming to prove a point. And apart from that, the wages, Chelsea are paying almost all his wages. So that shows how Chelsea were desperate to let him go for whichever reasons. But we know that it's not the reason, is not how he played. The reason are more business and more technical or tactical. So, of all the signings made in the last minute yesterday, I think Raheem to Arsenal is the biggest one and is the one to watch. I think he's a player that is going to flourish in Mikel Arteta's side. Mikel has worked with him in Manchester City, has coached him, so he knows Mikel's football. Mikel knows him as a player, and that synergy is good. He's a player who is coming to play and doesn't need to gel with the squad. He knows the tactics of the Arsenal side, and he's coming to put in the work. His work rate is always high. He's a player that an athlete, tremendous, marvelous athlete that doesn't tire. He works like literally pushing and pressing and all those kind of things. So Arsenal have a big player in Raheem Sterling. And for the Gunners who are disappointed that they are not having a number 9, I think you have to trust Mikel. Mikel knows, and it just helps him to do that. Yeah, thank you. I would like to hear your comments about Raheem Sterling to Arsenal. Thank you.